Right, obviously we'll do the D+ one now because that's one of the... Here's what's funny, because there's the LUCID angle that I know Brenda actually was one of the people even posted on Twitter about. There is actually more hope than you think, but I know a lot of people are really down on this roster because this is the one where they got King in. They brought up LUCID, who was their player from other lower divisions. They kept Showmaker. They got aiming from KT, and then they kept Kellen for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe he's best friends with D+, or I don't fucking know on that one. So obviously the problem with this roster, Brendan, immediately is this. People don't know LUCID if they're not watching challenges, obviously, or whatever. And then people just feel like, oh, Showmaker without Canyon, and, you know, maybe he should have left or gone to one of these other maybe he should have been on Handwear or something. Maybe people want to move like that, you know. So I feel like a lot of people are really down on this D+ roster. Where are you at on this one?
I mean, I wouldn't put them in the top 3 still. I do think that like T1 Genji, Life are still above them in my mind. But I would say that, you know, as you're mentioning, everybody's expectations are very low, especially if you don't watch, you know, everything and you don't see everything. And maybe you watch like a couple of games of Kingen and Kellen and Summer and you're like,
yes.
Really, like why? What? You know, aiming, as we were talking about, he does have the ability, and I think he is learning to become more, actually more consistent, which is a good sign. I think he is on the up and up. Definitely worried about Showmaker. I don't, you know, from year to year, it's hard to say like where his wrist is at, where his mind is at, you know. But apparently, I watched an interview where he was like, you know, I was even thinking about retiring. I'm not really sure what I want to do, but
not a good sign.
I decided to stay on. I decided to continue on, and for my fans, you know, as you would say.
I love it. He's not you know, like the hundreds of thousands of dollars you get that year if you sign the deal. No, for the fans, of course, for the fans.
Yeah.
Everything, you guys.
So you know, he's. You know what's interesting for Showmaker as well is that his stream is actually getting bigger and bigger. It's actually really fun to watch, even if you don't speak Korean.
It's funny.
English as well. He's a lot of fun. He's actually like a very natural like streaming personality. So I think he's got like a good career.
I saw those clips when he was like memeing about the certain champions that were like the worst. I didn't know he was like he's actually like known as like a charismatic figure with like good personality. Right? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. No, he's because
if people don't know, it's super famous that people who are the best Korean players just like stream, don't talk, sometimes don't even have the camera on, and it's like, I mean, okay, but I could be watching Raw PGG game now, like what is this, you know? That's cool if he's got a personality though. Okay,
they've gotten much better, I think, Korean streamers across the board, but Showmaker definitely like stands out above and beyond the others. And then of course LUCID, like this guy is absolutely cracked. Like he should have been in LCK a while ago.
I don't
really know why not, but finally D+ were like, I guess we're losing Canyon, let's get our cheap challenger jungler. Oh, it's LUCID. Okay, like finally someone realized, okay, maybe this guy should be on a roster for one reason or another.
Is it age Valdes? Because he's only just turned 18.
Yeah, well,
I think it was his age.
That's probably like part of it as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But there was like a good year where somebody maybe could have like put him in. But either way, this guy is probably going to be the best player on the roster. Like, I think that even better than Showmaker.
I mean, he is like a full-on sort of like, if you want a jungle star, he's everything you'd want it to be, right? Like, it's like he's going to play the LUCID and the fucking all the Viego, all the carry champs, right?
Yeah, he will carry. He is a carry jungler. I think that Canyon kind of adopted that style in 2023, especially. But LUCID is like, he's just one of those guys. He will carry your game, and he's not going to be like kind of inconsistent like Canyon was in the last year. And Canyon, don't get me wrong, amazing player.
Sure.
LUCID, I think, has a ton of promise. Like he, all of us are super excited to watch him play in the LCK because I think he's just going to make a lot of junglers look silly in the 1v1 matchup, and he's going to carry a lot of games. Now, obviously, all the parts aren't quite there, but definitely looking at LUCID as like the main guy for this roster.
Don't ask him to upset an objective up.
By the way, though, here's the thing, though. Before we go in, because there will be definitely some criticism. I just have to ask, though. All you said about Kellen and Kingen was just like people thought they weren't that good. Like, what do you think about Kingen and Kellen, though? That's the $1 million question, Valdes. What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, sure. I do think that Kellen has had a couple of good Renata games, and I think 2022 was where he was really good, or decent, but 2023 was definitely a big flop for him. I think he was definitely a big part of the reason why DPlus just lost a lot of...
Put it this way, he was every Deft fan's main villain as far as I can tell. Like, they hate this guy.
For a good reason. I mean, he did not have a good year. He was pretty abysmal, especially towards the end. I don't know what happened to him.
Something happened at Worlds, he went really bad, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very introverted guy, but he's like extremely nice. But sometimes, when it comes to like that extreme fierce competition, sometimes maybe you can get overwhelmed with a personality like that. I'm not sure. I know that he has it in him. He is a good player. That is why he stays on these rosters, because the stuff we don't see of like the scrims or like when there's not a lot of pressure, and he's probably friends with a lot of the players and maybe even the org. So they're like, okay, we'll give you another chance. You're good, We'll give you a little pay cut. That wasn't a great year, and we'll keep you on.
Okay.
So none of us are high on Kellen. None of us think he's a great player right now, especially. He has had some good years. And
where do you go on the Kingham one then? Because I always think the problem is this is another player who, but people forget this. Dude, he was the MVP of the Final of Worlds. Like, I can't even lie, by the way. When I watch the series back, it is like watching one of those, it's like watching like one of those like UFC fights where you know that like it's an upset at the end and you think, I think the guy still wins. I think he's still going to win this, even though he gets upset. But like, if I watch that series at the end, I can't lie. He did do awesome. He did subdue Zeus completely. Like, but what do people in Korea think of him? Did he also get sort of like a weird Beryl status where people don't know if he's good or not? Do people actually acknowledge that he's like a world champion and stuff?
I think they do, but I would say that he's one of the less popular top players in the LCK. Like, not a lot of people rate him very highly or like are big fans of him. But they just see him as a consistent guy. Unfortunately for us, we're like, well, he was that consistent guy until summer, and then he was just kind of invisible, and that's different from consistent. Where consistent is like, okay, you're always making some kind of impact. Invisible is like you're just not even there. Like, you're consistently not making an impact. So we are not very high on him either. He began, I think 2023 it was, where he had like some crazy Ornn like TikTok highlights, and everybody's like, holy shit, like King, and he's here to play in this year again. And then
I love it.
That was his
TikTok highlights.
Yeah, no, it was.
I love it.
That was his peak, and then after that, it was like a slow...
Just getting the Zoomers on board with his agenda early with his TikTok highlights.
The meme was, it was like, it was Chinese League of Legends TikTok or King and Outplay, and it was like the whole idea was like you couldn't tell the difference between if it was being if it was being set up like as like a show thing or like a fake King and.
If you don't know, Keire's referring to they used to do this in Counter Strike. They'll actually set up a fake highlight basically where everyone agrees that you jump here and then I do so you can make these amazing combos. But he was actually doing like that level of play. Right, fair play then, fair play. Okay,
they were really, really funny.
Okay.
So everybody knows he's capable, but it's been a very slow, steady decline for him. So again, expectations are very low. I would say people are like, hopefully he returns to his consistent form and like maybe carries from time to time. But I do worry because he has to play weak side, I would imagine, with Lucid and Showmaker. Like, I don't think Lucid's going to be going top anytime soon because King is just going to play the tank. He's going to play the Ornn, and Lucid's going to go mid or bot. And I think that's the way this team is going to function. So
basically, for me, I actually just think this team's like the sleeper team because I think people will just dismiss it because of the Canyon move and they don't know Lucid. But like everything I've heard makes it sound like not only is he a really good player, might be the perfect player to bring in as well to replace Canyon in a team where we don't have a super strong top lane. Like, let's get the fucking stud jungler. And Showmaker knows how to play with the fucking jungler. That's the one thing I do know in his career. So that's nailed it. And then, as I've said before, I've always actually been slightly higher on aiming than other people. I understand he does have what is my biggest pet peeve for ADCs, because he just die indiscriminately and throw the whole game. He has done that, but I'll give him credit. Like I say, I've seen him put some games on his back in KT Rolster and just win them like the Nightmare Fuel ADC game you get where it's just you and no one's peeling for you and you just have to like dodge every skill shot and do every fucking piece of DPS. Like, this guy will go in. He'll seriously play like to the limit if he has to. So I don't think this is as bad as people think, actually. I think this is potentially a playoff team. Like, they're on the outskirts, but they could maybe upset people. We'll see. Come on, Keire. Where you on the whole team, though, not just the players? Where you on the whole team?
No, so this team has to become like Lucid's team in the future. Like, this has to become like a Lucid based team for it to be successful. I actually think it's it's not bad. Like, Kellen's the worst player on the team, and he could be good. The thing is, I don't think the team's like bad, like per se in any sense of the word. I don't think all the PCs are like as optimal as they could be, but this is a team that should be like in the middling section and trying to like break out and snipe wins off of like the elite teams based on if like they're really good players like Showmaker and Lucid can like show up on like specific days. A little bit because of the terrain changes, mid jungle 2v2 has become less lane based and more invasion based. But that's not entirely like the case. For example, you can still like abuse LeBlanc Lee Sin. And because of the isolated nature, and they both have like insane terrain scaling, they aren't as affected as much by the map, and as such, they can get on top of people easier than other champions. And so, there's lots and lots of places they can go. Syndra still very potent on the 1-2 item power spike. There's a lot here that like I actually like. Lucid is just like a straight up like jungle prodigy. Hopefully he can transfer his like skills to like tier 1. I've seen it way too many times from LCK challengers and way too many times from LDL where like people who are gods in one like arena can't transfer their skills to the other, and so I don't actually give like the gravitas of it definitely will happen. But like Lucid's good, like very good. Aiming is basically just like creating Karze. But he's like,
that's a good shout.
Yeah, he'll win you like he'll win you some unwinnable games, and then he'll just sometimes like questionably lose you them. But like the losing you angle, over the course of their career has happened less and less and less. So yeah, I think one of the things that you're going to need to be really careful on this team is like drafting allocations on like where to go and like what like team structure and team shape is going to look like, who's going to set up objectives, who's going to be playing on front line and flank. So we're going to have to internally come up with like a lot of decisions. So I kind of good. I do enjoy though the fact of like where Showmaker's mental is at. Did you see that, Valdes? Like when the European streamers went over to Korea,
yes.
Showmaker recognised one of them who had ran him down when he was in EU, and he just like. And the dude's name wasn't even like
wasn't some famous person or something, right?
Yeah, like, but the dude's name wasn't even like remotely correct. He figured him out from like his pick.
Holy
like
shit.
he's like, and he's like, show me.
This guy must have an insane memory. Fucking hell.
No, and she's saying memory. I think he's like deeply unwell sometimes. And like Dead of Fire, like Showmaker was just like, I remember, and like instantly like. Sudo didn't play well. Like, the turret dive didn't go good. I am now 0-3 in lane. Like, so he's still got some of these old tendencies in him. The thing is, at the end of the day, I don't know. This team will, in my opinion, will not be contesting for LCK. But in terms of the progression of the core of the team and people like Lucid, it should be super interesting. You should basically just watch this team to see what happens with Lucid. It should be mega fun.
Pretty much. And draft for mid jungle every game.
Every game, yeah. Every single game.
Single game.
If they start drafting for bot,
no aiming picks. I don't want to see it. No.
Yeah.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.